Welcome to The Explainer. And wow, what a week in AI. This wasn't just another set of updates, it felt like the future arrived a little early. We saw AI grab the global spotlight like never before, a dizzying number of new tools dropped, and some truly mind-boggling billion-dollar bets were placed on where this is all going.
Okay, so here's what we're covering. First up, AI's big mainstream moment. Then we'll dive into the flood of new tools and benchmarks. After that, we'll watch the giants go head to head. And finally, we'll look at the billion-dollar endgame and the huge strategies at play.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, AI's mainstream moment. This is where AI really stepped onto the global stage. So get this. Time magazine just named the architects of artificial intelligence as its person of the year. And that's a really big deal. This is the moment AI officially broke out of the tech bubble. It's no longer some niche topic for developers. It's now being recognized as one of the central forces shaping our world. Right now, how we work, how we create, even how we talk to each other. And this isn't just symbolic. It reflects a wild reality. Something like 800 million people are now using AI every single week. That is a massive number. And with that kind of rapid adoption, it forces us to ask some really tough questions, right? Like, how do we make sure these incredibly powerful systems are actually aligned with what we want as a society? And when things go wrong, who's responsible? Okay, so let's move on. How did all this hype translate into actual stuff we can use? Well, this week, the pace of innovation was just relentless. First up, something straight out of science fiction. Google rolled out real-time audio translation. And the key here is that it works with any headphones you plug in, not just Google stuff. You're basically getting a universal translator in your ear. This is a huge, huge step towards just completely breaking down language barriers. Then we got a real curveball. Zoom, the video conferencing app, claimed its AI actually beat Google's Gemini on this super difficult reasoning test. Now, what's interesting here is that Zoom uses what's called a federated approach, which basically means the AI learns without having to slurp up all your data into one central server. But man, it is a tight race at the top. You can see GPT-5.2 and another one called DeepWriter are all right there, neck and neck. The competition is getting fierce. Of course, NVIDIA couldn't just sit on the sidelines. The chip giant made its biggest play yet in the actual AI model game. They dropped Nematron 3, which is this whole family of powerful open-source models. The idea here is to give developers a really strong alternative to the closed-off systems from places like OpenAI. And, the quiet part is it also keeps everyone happily building on top of NVIDIA's chips. Pretty smart.
And if you want to see just how fast things are moving, look at this. A new study showed the latest AI models are just crushing all 3 levels of the super hard chartered financial analyst exams. To put that in perspective, just last year, GPT-4 passed level 1 and then failed the other 2. Now, a year later, they're getting near perfect scores on everything. That kind of leap in capability in 1 year is it's incredible. So all these new tools and benchmarks set the stage for the main event this week, the giants going head to head. The AI arms race is officially on.
But what are people actually doing with all this power? Well, a study from Perplexity and Harvard found something pretty fascinating. It turns out we're not just using AI for simple stuff like asking for a recipe. People are really leaning into the heavy lifting, the deep cognitive work like research, summarizing complex documents, and editing.
You could almost feel the pressure building on OpenAI, and this week, they responded. They dropped a badly needed upgrade to their image generator. The new version is way faster, and it finally fixes those super annoying problems with getting text right in images and keeping faces consistent if you try to edit them. It's a big step up that puts them right back in the fight.
Here's an interesting counterpoint, though. Just as everyone is getting hyped about these complex systems with multiple AIs working together, some new research from Google and MIT kind of pumps the brakes. They found that for a lot of tasks, just having one really well-designed AI agent can work better and be way cheaper than a whole complicated team of them. It's a good reminder that sometimes simpler is actually smarter. And then Google dropped an absolute bombshell. They unleashed Gemini 3 Flash, a brand new model, and you really need to pay attention to this combination. It's incredibly smart, insanely fast, and super cheap. This was a major move. So let's break that down. Flash has top-tier intelligence. It's right up there with the best of the best, but it runs so much faster and costs so much less. And here's the kicker. Google immediately made it the default model in their main products. That is an incredibly aggressive play to just gobble up market share.
Okay, so while all this product-level fighting is going on, there are these massive billion-dollar chess moves happening in the background. This is the endgame stuff that's setting the stage for the next decade. Check out this number. A report came out that Amazon is talking about investing over $10 billion in OpenAI. A deal like that would value OpenAI at more than $500 billion. But here's the really critical part. OpenAI would also agree to use Amazon's own custom AI chips. So for Amazon, this is a brilliant move. They get a huge new customer for their chips, and it's also a kind of insurance policy against their other big AI investment, Anthropic.
So with all this money flying around, what's next? Well, experts at Stanford are predicting that 2026 is going to be a year of reckoning. And what they mean by that is basically the hype train slows down. The industry is going to have to shift from just showing off cool demos to proving that all these billions of dollars are actually delivering real value and a real return on investment. The honeymoon will be over.
Meanwhile, on a national level, the U.S. Department of Energy assembled what is basically the Avengers of tech. They brought together 24 of the biggest companies for something called the Genesis mission. The goal here is to pool all this public and private brainpower to use AI to speed up huge scientific breakthroughs in things like nuclear energy and quantum computing.
But speaking of platform plays, OpenAI kept pushing its strategy to be the one-stop shop for everything AI. They opened up their app marketplace inside ChatGPT to all developers now. The goal is pretty obvious, right? They want ChatGPT to become the central interface for, well, for everything. A single place where you can connect to all your other tools without ever leaving the chat. And just when you think it's all about the giants, we see there's still room for new players. The CEO of the robotics company Figure just launched a brand new AI lab called Hark, and he's backing it with $100 million of his own money. His goal is to explore some of the ideas that the big labs might be overlooking, which just goes to show you this race is still wide open. And that really brings us to the core question after a week like this. On one hand, you have this incredible acceleration, mainstream recognition, and technology that's moving at a pace that's hard to even comprehend. On the other hand, you have these massive billion-dollar stakes and that looming year of reckoning. So the question we're left with is all of this speed and money leading to a genuine breakthrough? Or is the hype about to slam into a wall of reality?